in the meantime, I've got a topic that we could start with, Ajahn, about khandhas, about the different khandhas. A few weeks ago, and you'll remember you were asking about inner and outer, and we discussed different characteristics of rupas. So I thought we could go through each khandha starting with rupa and consider the meanings of the different terms used to describe them when the sutras talk about whether past, future, present, internal, external, and so on, and then for the other khandhas in turn. So starting with rupa, any rupa, whether it's past rupa, rupa that's fallen away, future rupa, rupa that hasn't arisen, or present rupa is khandha, it's rupa khandha. And then we discussed the other day internal ajatika or external bahira. So the ajatika, the internal, are as we discussed, are the 5 sense bases, eye sense, and so on. And the external, the bahira rupas, are the other 23 rupas. And then it says any rupa, past, future, present, internal, external, gross or subtle. As we discussed, the gross are the sense bases and sense objects, alarika, the 12 alarika rupas. So any of the sense bases or sense objects. And the subtle, the sukuma rupas, are the other 16 rupas. And then it says inferior or superior, inferior hinam, superior panitam, and I'm not sure which they are. Ajahn, which are the inferior rupas and which are the superior panitam rupas?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing in life is to understand that which is now appearing. Because usually we just say everything is Dhamma, but what about everything now? It doesn't appear as Dhamma yet. That's why we shouldn't go across each reality, because it's so very subtle. And that which can be known is not just the word, but the reality of it, in order to let go the idea of self. Because if we have no understanding of whatever is now appearing at all, it's impossible to let go the idea of self at all. Because it's just talking about what we learn from the book, like everything is Dhamma. But in life, in real life, this moment all around must be Dhamma. Nothing as people and things at all. From birth to death, from life to life. That's why the realities are so very subtle that we have to consider only one reality in order to understand the truth of it, which can be known right now, so that it can begin to understand what Buddha taught about different aspects of each Dhamma. For example, right now, what rupa should we talk about? Just one at a time. Because there are so many rupas all around. No one there at all. Even what we take from my body, see, inside or outside body of the other. The other body cannot be inside, but the body now, which is taken from my body, is inside in one aspect. See, to understand what we are talking about. There are so many different rupas, and that which arises and falls away by conditions, that which is not the object of experiencing right now. So it can be known. But now, what is there now? Is there enough understanding of letting go of something in it, no matter it is what rupa? Jakku vinyana, jakku pasada, jakku pasada, it's there, unknown. But that which is seen is now appearing, and the truth of it is that is it inside or outside, because it is the object. Citta experience that, and that is not here but it's there, the object of seeing. That's why that which now appearing as something, no matter it's bed, window, or flower, or person, or people, or whatever, it's only that which can be seen. A reality which nobody can change at all, because it is the absolute truth, which is not known at all from life to life. And now it's the beginning to consider the truth that we live in the world of ignorance each moment, after seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, on and on, not understanding the truth of anything. So just learn to consider about that which is now appearing, so that can be the understanding of it is that which is not object which appears as something at all. For example, right now, what's that? It appears as something, but in truth, it's that which is seen. Okay? And we don't mind whether it's outside or inside at the moment when it's there as the object to be known as that which is something before understanding the truth. But in truth, it's only a reality conditioned to arise and appear as the object right now. And while it is appearing, seems like it's there all the time, but in truth, not all the time at all. Just very short moment. Even now, there is hearing and thinking, not just seeing. See, when there is the considering about the truth of everything, the understanding begins to understand that how much ignorance is there in life from moment to moment, today, yesterday, and tomorrow, on and on. That's right, just learning to understand the truth, the nature of it. Otherwise, it's useless in life if we just remember all the words and all the terms, but each word conditions the understanding of the truth as it is. For example, what is the outer rupa now? That which is experienced. But the inside is the eye base at moment of seeing, ear base at moment of hearing, and on, like the body base and so on, kaya pasata rupa, is there now, covered up with attachment and ignorance, clinging to that which appears as something all the time, in life, in samsara. That's why if there's not understanding that which is appearing, it's impossible to let go the idea of self, which is not easy at all. For example, right now, what is there now? See, even what we take for my hand, it's not the hand. It's just a moment of experiencing hardness and then thinking about it, or no thought about it at all. Just thinking about other things while we are eating or talking or walking or doing anything. No understanding of anything that we have learned, because the point is that understanding that can be directly experienced as Buddha had experienced all Dhammas and told us to know the way to develop the understanding to directly experience it, little by little, to let go the idea of self. So begin with the rupa in and out. We can understand two meanings. The other's body, it's not the inside or the inner, but that which is we take for my body is the inner, not outer, see. And at moment of seeing what is outer, the rupa which is experienced is there. But the Chakkhupasata here is in Pali, you know the word.
Yes, the Ajatika, the inner.
See, that's it, inner there. The inner is there, that we don't know at all the time. The eye base and the ear base and so on. But it's there to be known, to let go the idea of self. That's why study Dhamma is not just learn and forgot and no understanding of this moment, but it's the understanding that the subtlety of reality right now. The truth is that nothing is that permanent at all. Whatever is now appearing is only at the moment when it appears. But even so, the rapidity of the arising and falling away of what are there now, so many, many things. Not just seeing, is there before seeing and after seeing and then thinking and the rupa and idea about that, or in the day covers up the truth of that which arises by conditions and fall away instantly all the time. So we begin to understand the meaning of the inner and the outer. Do we have to remember the Pali word? Alright, it's good, because Buddha taught in Pali, but not just the meaning, but the truth of it, that is now. He taught about whatever now appearing all the time.
And Ajahn, on the point about the inner and outer, or in English or in Pali or any language, so as you mentioned, when we're talking about the rupas, there are two meanings at the moment of seeing. The eye senses the inner rupa, and that which is seen, the visible object, is the outer rupa that is experienced. And in another sense, the inner is what is taken for my body, and the outer what is taken for the others. When it comes to the Namakhandas, for example, Vedana, Sanya, and so on, the inner can be what is taken for my feeling, and the outer what is taken for the others. So only one sense of inner and outer when it comes to the different Chaitasikas. As we know, when it comes to Chitta, Chitta is the innermost in another sense. So in terms of the actual khandas, for rupas we can say the eye sense is the ajatika, the inner rupa, and the visible object is the bahira, the external rupa. But for Vedana, can we only refer to what is taken for our feeling as opposed to the others? Anything else?
It can be the understanding of whatever is now, like inner and outer, right? Internal, external. For example, there is no one at all. This is the truth of each moment. But the Chitta arises and falls away in split seconds. So we don't mind talking about the only one, but talking about the nature of that. For example, there is no one at all. And then there is seeing. See, that seeing is not the other seeing, because that can be seeing any time when there are right conditions for seeing to arise. But what is there appearing is the inner, right?
Even though, as we know, like with regard to seeing or Vedana, actually there's no my seeing or the other seeing or the inner Vedana feeling or the outer feeling, because it's just feeling that arises. And when it's known, it's just feeling or just seeing. So it's only thinking that considers it as inner or outer in that sense.
That's why the Buddha taught about everything, no matter it's the moment of seeing, or the moment of thinking, or the moment of taking something for this or that. See, the truth is that the absolute is that nothing is permanent at all. From nothing, there is something conditioned to appear and then disappear instantly. And that can be directly experienced because it's the truth. So true. Otherwise, what's the use of talking about Chitta, arises to see, and then fall away? Just to experience it. But when Panya is there, enough, letting go, attachment, and ignorance about what is there as something all the time, even right now. See? And this is the path. Dhamma, we used to say, very deep, very subtle. But the subtlety of all dharmas are here and now, because it does not appear as it is, as just only one at a time. While the truth is that citta, or that which experience, can experience only one object at a time. See, so each word is so meaningful. It is not just the word, but it's the truth, the absolute truth that can be directly experienced. Otherwise, wrong understanding and ignorance is there. No matter how much we know about the word, the five khandhas at that moment experience that. The four nama khandhas experience that, not the rupa khandha. See, just talk about the truth now, so that there can be a little more interest, chanda, confidence, sattva, to see the value, the precious moment of understanding it, because just one moment of understand whatever is now appearing, condition other moment. See, and there can be the understanding of what Buddha said about the cookbook. See, what we understand now, and the moment when it's panya, the nature of panya is there. At moment when it understands that which is now appearing, and by then, no doubt about what is meant by sammatiti, sati at all, because it's there, different from this moment, not direct understanding of that which is there. All the time is there, but no one knows, because ignorance is there, and attachment is always there, covers up. So until there is less ignorance and less attachment, so there can be attention, or begin to think about or being aware, sati at that level, which does not forget that it's a reality right now. And that is the beginning. And by conditions, that's why the path is so very, very subtle. No one knows that without letting go from the very beginning, it's impossible to let go all the wrong understanding about whatever is now appearing as something. As something, see, it's there, it's so true. And we talk about the underneath, the underlying, that is there, very deep. That which now arises and falls away in split seconds. That's why learning about the truth of that which is now appearing, that is the way to let go wrong understanding, that take it for me or anyone or things. Because actually it's just like the breaking word all the time. Just arise and falls away succeedingly, unknown, because of the rapidity of the arising and falling away. And who can imagine how fast it is? Just opens one's eyes. It's there many, many things around. Actually, each one has to impinge on the eye base, and the citta experience only one object before it can be flower or anything at all. That's why it cannot be known unless the enlightenment and the words of the Buddha from his enlightened the truth, realization of the truth of what is there now. So anything can be object of ignorance and attachment. Sometimes people can, someone might have the very, very unusual, pleasant feeling. It's not as the happy or pleasant feeling come at moment of experiencing the five objects or the six through the sense door and mind door, but that which hasn't happened at all. But there must be conditions in the past to condition such moments, and without that understanding of what is there in daily life, it's impossible to let go that level of pleasant feeling at all. That's why anything can happen, can be object by conditions, but what about the understanding? It has to understand whatever is there. Otherwise, at that moment, there is the latent tendency and the asva of the avijja and attachment, unknown. That's why it takes time to know the point of study, just to understand. No matter we're talking about rupa, inner or outer, external, internal, what is there? No word at all. But the truth is that the reality begins to appear little by little to the level of understanding. At moment of thinking about it, we are lost in and trying to understanding it. But at moment when it's there, a reality, its nature is that. It's not the voice or the sound. At moment of seeing, it's not the smell. It's not hardness and softness. It's only a moment of experiencing that which is now sees, experience that object. But the nature of that which experiences does not appear yet. Because when there are so many things together around, no understanding of anyone clear at all. Because there are so many things together. That's why there can be the understanding of what can lead to that moment, the understanding about the truth of it, condition the moment of beginning to consider, to develop the understanding of the nature of a reality which experiencing now an object and only that object, only one at a time. By then, there can be a little more understanding of the difference between what is there now with awareness and the development of understanding until it appears as it is to that level of understanding. The word gone and only one object is now the object of understanding. So the understanding is clear, no doubt about that object. But that's not enough at all, because it's only the first moment of understanding the truth of that actually what is meant by nothing. And then there must be a reality arising and falling away. But the moment when it arises is not known, because it's a moment of beginning to understand the nature of that which experiences and the nature of that which cannot experience. So just learn about this moment as we have learned by each word of the Buddha is so subtle. Otherwise, no one knows the great virtues of the Buddha. Who's the Buddha? Who's the enlightened one? And what's meant by enlightenment? It has to be anything now begins to show up little by little as it is no one and no self and no thing at all. Otherwise it's useless to just think about and try really hard to understand what is there in the book. But what is there now? From the book we heard, it's there, so true. That which experiences only one word, Dhamma, is real and is there because it can, nobody can change any moment of seeing, not to see, impossible, because it arises and see already. Everything is by conditions, from life to life, no permanent I, no Sujin, no who. In this, it can be only just in this life and not the word, but reality is all the time. The word just make it known as different realities by name, this and that. So it has to be the understanding of each word as it is now. Inner, outer, external, internal. Now it's there. But the nature of that which is the self, the Chitta, Vijnana Khanda, the Vedana Khanda, this now does not appear as objects, and the Sanya Khanda and Sankhara Khanda, Cetasikas, are there. And only that which appears can be object of understanding. That's why even the Chitta before seeing and after seeing cannot be known, because they do not appear. So there can be the understanding of what is meant by nimitta, and Panyati. Without realities, there cannot be any nimitta, because realities arise and fall away in split second. So very, very fast, so they are all now, all nimittas. And when it appears as nimitta, the idea, the sanya, marks and remember, even no word at all yet, not by speech, but the characteristic of that which appear, sanya, marks and remember, until it makes note of something, Panyati. See? So Panyati is the object of citta, which takes the nimitta as something. And not just that, words too, because we learn to remember the tone, the volume of the word, and everyone has the idea of something there with such words. That's why there can be the Panyati, which is Satta Panyati, not only Atta Panyati. This is life from life to life, unknown, until there is listening carefully to each word and understand how much ignorance is there. Not understanding, not enough, not understanding what? Now, that object which is appearing. Otherwise, how can we say ignorance cannot understand anything? Not anything, just that which appears all the time. Of seeing, hearing, that which is seen, that which is heard, everything. Because we think that we hear the word, but at that moment, the understanding of the word is there all the time, very soon, as a hearing. So it seems like we hear the words, not the sound. So we begin to understand what Buddha taught by word to word, little by little, inner, outer, external, internal, both aspects.
Yes, and I think it's, you've reminded me it's clear that seeing here, it's not seeing there, even though it's just seeing which sees, that's still different seeing. So the seeing that we call inner is different from the seeing that is out there, another's seeing, even though it's just seeing. So it's always quite subtle. So it's not just thinking about it, but it's the reality at the moment of seeing, that each seeing is different. Each one rises and falls away. Each one is khandha. But only the seeing now can be understood if there are conditions, and it's the same for Vedana or any of the other namakhandhas.
And what we are talking can become true when Panya, right understanding, develops enough. That's why no hurry to do anything, because it's impossible. The wrong understanding can let go. The wrong understanding, it's impossible.
Like you say, each word we read, like we can read about the khandhas and inner and outer and each rupa, each Vedana and so on. And so easy to quickly read, but each word has to be considered so carefully in many different aspects, many different ways.
Even the first word, Dhamma, see,